Men, pay attention. Not every woman you meet is worth your time, energy, or emotional investment. In modern dating, women often display subtle red flags that signal misalignment, manipulation, or potential emotional harm. Ignoring these signals can lead to wasted time, heartbreak, and diminished confidence. Recognizing these patterns early allows you to protect your energy, enforce boundaries, and maintain authority. There are 10 red flags that every man must recognize. These behaviors may seem small at first, but they reveal fundamental personality traits, intentions, and alignment issues. Women who display these signs consistently are often testing boundaries, manipulating perception, or lacking the maturity and integrity necessary for a healthy relationship. Men who fail to notice them risk being blindsided by deception, drama, or emotional games. In this guide, we'll break down the 10 behaviors that are non-negotiable warning signs, explain why they matter in female psychology, and show you how to respond effectively. Observing these patterns allows you to filter for honesty, alignment, and respect while avoiding relationships that drain your energy or compromise your authority. This isn't about paranoia. It's about discernment, self-respect, and protecting your emotional investment. Men who recognize these red flags, maintain composure, and act deliberately naturally, command respect, preserve their energy, and attract women who are genuinely aligned with their values. 1. She constantly plays victim. Men. The first red flag to recognize is a woman who constantly plays the victim. This behavior is not just occasional frustration or normal human emotion. It is a repeated pattern where she frames herself as always being wronged, oppressed, or misunderstood. Women who do this use victim energy to manipulate perception, gain sympathy, and shift responsibility for their actions onto others, including you. This behavior often appears in subtle ways. She may complain frequently about past relationships, exaggerate hardships, or frame minor conflicts as major injustices. Statements like, "I can't believe he did that to me, I'm always the one hurt," or "nobody ever understands me," are common examples. Men who empathize excessively without observing patterns risk being drawn into her emotional turbulence and losing authority over their own energy. Another key indicator is consistency. A woman who plays the victim intermittently may just be expressing normal human frustration, but when it becomes a recurring theme, especially paired with complaints about you or your decisions, it signals manipulation and lack of accountability. Women unconsciously test whether a man tolerates this energy, gauges his reaction, and determines whether he can maintain composure. Tone and micro-behaviors matter. Victim energy is often accompanied by subtle manipulation cues, prolonged sighs, exaggerated expressions, or pauses designed to elicit sympathy. Women instinctively observe whether men absorb this energy, overreact, or attempt to fix the situation. Men who notice these patterns without reacting emotionally maintain authority, protect energy, and avoid being pulled into unnecessary drama. Practical application. Observe how often she frames situations around being wronged and whether it is paired with avoidance of responsibility. Avoid overreacting, apologizing unnecessarily, or trying to solve every perceived problem. This reinforces the behavior. Instead, maintain composure, track patterns, and set clear boundaries around emotional responsibility. Finally, understanding victim behavior as a red flag protects your energy and preserves clarity in relationships. Men who recognize this pattern early can make informed decisions about whether to continue investing time and attention. Women instinctively respect men who can observe manipulation, remain composed, and enforce boundaries without being emotionally hijacked. Recognizing a woman who constantly plays the victim is your first critical red flag. Men who identify and respond strategically avoid unnecessary drama, maintain authority, and engage only with women who demonstrate accountability, integrity, and emotional maturity. 2. She constantly seeks attention. Men, the second red flag is a woman who constantly seeks attention from you and others. While it's natural to enjoy validation occasionally, women who make attention-seeking a persistent pattern often use it to manipulate perception, control energy, or maintain external options. This behavior signals insecurity, emotional immaturity, and a lack of respect for boundaries. This red flag can appear in several ways. She may excessively post on social media to gain likes, messages you repeatedly without reason, or dramatizes situations to get you to notice her. Statements like, "Why didn't you notice me?" or "I feel like nobody appreciates me," are common. Men who indulge her constant need for validation risk being manipulated into prioritizing her emotional whims over their own energy and priorities. Another key indicator is pattern recognition. Occasional attention-seeking is normal, but repeated, escalating demands indicate deeper alignment issues. Women unconsciously test whether a man will tolerate persistent attention-seeking, adjust his behavior to appease her, or maintain composure and boundaries. Those who notice patterns without reacting emotionally preserve authority and avoid being pulled into unnecessary drama. Energy and micro-behaviors provide further insight. A woman who constantly seeks attention may display impatience, subtle guilt-tripping, or exaggerated reactions when she feels ignored. Men who observe these cues without overreacting can differentiate between casual behavior and manipulation. Women instinctively monitor whether a man absorbs this energy or maintains his emotional autonomy. Practical application. Set boundaries around attention demands. Notice whether her requests or behaviors are consistent with respect and mutual investment, or if they are manipulative tests. Avoid overreacting, providing excessive validation, or allowing her energy to dictate your actions. Calm observation and boundary enforcement signal authority and self-respect. Finally, understanding constant attention-seeking as a red flag protects your energy and ensures clarity in relationships. Men who detect persistent neediness early can decide whether to invest, while those who ignore it risk emotional exhaustion and manipulation. Women naturally respect men who maintain composure, observe patterns, and enforce boundaries without being emotionally hijacked. Recognizing a woman who constantly seeks attention is essential for men who want to protect their time, energy, and authority. Observing patterns, reading energy, and responding deliberately filters for women who are emotionally mature, aligned, and worthy of investment. 3. She has a history of drama. Men. The third red flag is a woman who has a history of drama in her past relationships, friendships, or social circles. While everyone experiences conflict occasionally, women who repeatedly find themselves in chaotic or emotionally turbulent situations often carry patterns of instability, manipulation, or irresponsibility. Ignoring this red flag can lead to emotional exhaustion, unnecessary conflict, and loss of authority in your interactions. This behavior often appears in conversation. She may frequently reference ex-partners, describe past conflicts with friends or family, or portray herself as someone who always ends up in the middle of chaos. Statements like, "He was impossible to deal with, I can't believe it," or "I don't understand why everyone around me always fights," are common examples. Men who dismiss these stories as harmless gossip risk overlooking consistent behavioral patterns that may repeat in your relationship. Pattern recognition is critical. 1 or 2 past conflicts are normal, but repeated references to high-drama situations signal a lack of personal accountability or emotional maturity. Women subconsciously test whether a man notices these patterns and whether he will tolerate ongoing instability without enforcing boundaries. Men who detect this early and remain composed protect their emotional energy and authority. Tone, energy, and micro-behaviors also provide insight. Women with a history of drama may exaggerate emotions, laugh nervously when recounting chaotic stories, or display subtle tension and defensiveness. These cues reveal whether she frames conflict as externalizing blame rather than taking responsibility. Men who observe these patterns without reacting emotionally maintain composure and clarity, preventing manipulation. Practical application. Listen carefully to how she frames past experiences. Track whether there is a pattern of blame, manipulation, or repeated drama. Avoid dismissing red flags or trying to rescue her emotionally. Over-investing in someone with chronic drama diminishes your authority and drains energy. Calm observation, clear boundaries, and deliberate assessment signal strength and discernment. Finally, understanding a history of drama as a red flag protects your energy and ensures clarity in evaluating compatibility. Men who notice recurring patterns and maintain composure are less likely to be drawn into unnecessary conflict. Women instinctively recognize men who are aware, stable, and capable of enforcing boundaries without being emotionally hijacked. Recognizing a woman with a history of drama is a crucial step in maintaining control over your time, energy, and emotional investment. Observing behavior, tracking patterns, and responding deliberately allows men to engage only with women who demonstrate emotional stability, accountability, and alignment. 4. She disrespects your boundaries. Men, the fourth red flag is a woman who disrespects your boundaries. Boundaries are the foundation of authority, self-respect, and healthy relationships. Women who consistently ignore or challenge your limits, whether emotional, physical, or time-related, signal disregard for your needs, values, and energy. Ignoring this behavior often leads to manipulation, loss of control, and emotional exhaustion. This red flag can appear in many forms. She may pressure you to spend time when it's inconvenient, push for intimacy before you're ready, or dismiss your opinions and decisions. Phrases like, "Why can't you just relax?" or "You're overreacting," often accompany subtle boundary violations. Men who give in or fail to enforce limits risk training her to overstep repeatedly, diminishing authority and creating imbalance in the relationship. Another key indicator is pattern and consistency. Occasional boundary testing can happen naturally as people adjust, but repeated disregard signals a lack of respect and alignment. Women unconsciously monitor whether a man will enforce his boundaries, overreact emotionally, or tolerate manipulation. Men who recognize patterns and respond with composure maintain control over their energy and preserve authority. Tone, energy, and micro-behaviors are important clues. A woman who disrespects boundaries may display impatience, sarcasm, guilt-tripping, or subtle passive-aggressive behavior when limits are enforced. These cues reveal her reaction to authority and her willingness to manipulate perception. Observing these without reacting emotionally allows you to maintain clarity and control. Practical application. Clearly define your boundaries and watch her response. Note repeated violations and evaluate whether she adjusts her behavior respectfully or continues to push. Avoid arguing excessively or compromising values for temporary peace. Your authority lies in consistency and composure. Calm observation and deliberate enforcement of boundaries signal strength and discernment. Finally, understanding boundary violations as a red flag protects emotional energy and ensures clarity in compatibility assessment. Men who notice repeated disregard early prevent manipulation, maintain respect, and filter for women who honor integrity, alignment, and mutual investment. Women instinctively respect men who enforce boundaries without emotional compromise, which naturally filters for healthy, aligned relationships. Recognizing a woman who disrespects boundaries is critical for men who want to preserve authority, energy, and clarity in relationships. Observing patterns, reading energy, and responding deliberately ensures that you invest only in women who demonstrate respect, alignment, and emotional maturity. 5. She lies frequently. Men, the fifth red flag is a woman who lies frequently. While everyone may tell a small white lie occasionally, women who demonstrate a pattern of dishonesty signal manipulation, lack of integrity, and misalignment. Frequent lying erodes trust, undermines authority, and can lead to emotional confusion and frustration in a relationship. This behavior can appear in subtle ways. She may misrepresent her whereabouts, exaggerate stories, or omit key details about her interactions with others. Statements like, "I didn't see that text," or "I was with friends all day," can be harmless once, but repeated patterns indicate a deeper issue. Men who accept these lies without noticing patterns risk being manipulated emotionally and losing clarity about her intentions. Pattern recognition is crucial. One isolated lie may be innocent or situational, but repeated deception, especially about key areas like relationships, boundaries, or fidelity, signals a fundamental character issue. Women unconsciously test whether a man can detect inconsistencies, track patterns, and maintain composure, which gauges how easily they can manipulate perception. Tone, body language, and microbehaviors provide additional clues. Women who lie frequently may hesitate before answering, avoid eye contact, fidget, or over-explain details. These unconscious cues often reveal the truth behind the facade. Men who observe energy, behavior, and consistency without overreacting maintain authority and preserve emotional clarity. Practical application. Track consistency between words, actions, and timelines. Notice repeated discrepancies, evasions, or contradictions. Avoid confronting every minor lie aggressively. This can create unnecessary conflict and reduce your authority. Instead, remain composed, deliberate, and observant. Patterns of dishonesty rather than isolated incidents are the key indicators of a red flag. Finally, understanding frequent lying as a red flag protects your energy and ensures clarity in relationships. Men who recognize repeated dishonesty early avoid emotional manipulation and wasted investment. Women instinctively respond to men who detect inconsistencies while remaining calm, assertive, and composed, naturally filtering for honesty and alignment. Recognizing a woman who lies frequently is a critical step in maintaining authority, emotional energy, and clarity. Observing patterns, reading subtle cues, and responding strategically ensures that men engage only with women who demonstrate integrity, alignment, and trustworthiness in modern dating dynamics. 6. She flirts with other men. Openly men. The sixth red flag is a woman who flirts with other men openly, whether in your presence or on social media. This behavior signals disrespect, lack of boundaries, and potential emotional or physical unavailability. Women who engage in overt flirting are often testing your attention, energy, and emotional response, gauging how much they can manipulate perception and maintain options. This behavior can appear in multiple forms. She might compliment other men excessively, use suggestive language in conversations, or post provocative content online. Statements like, "He's so funny, I love talking to him," or "That guy made me laugh so much," are common examples. Men who ignore or excuse these behaviors risk signaling tolerance for disrespect and reducing their authority. Pattern recognition is essential. Occasional harmless social interactions are normal, but repeated, deliberate flirting demonstrates disregard for your feelings and boundaries. Women unconsciously observe whether a man reacts, adjusts behavior, or maintains composure, which informs how far they can push in testing loyalty and attention. Tone, body language, and microbehaviors provide additional insight. Flirtation is often accompanied by subtle cues, like lingering eye contact, playful gestures, or heightened attention toward the other man. Hesitation, nervous energy, or defensiveness when questioned are further signals that her attention may not be fully aligned with you. Men who notice these cues while remaining composed maintain authority and protect emotional energy. Practical application. Monitor the consistency of her attention, energy, and behavior toward other men. Establish clear boundaries about respect, loyalty, and appropriate interactions. Avoid overreacting emotionally. Calm observation and deliberate enforcement of limits signal confidence, authority, and discernment. Repeated violations of respect and flirtatious behavior are non-negotiable red flags. Finally, understanding open flirting as a red flag protects your emotional energy and ensures clarity in assessing alignment. Men who notice patterns early avoid manipulation, wasted effort, and emotional confusion. Women instinctively respect men who enforce boundaries, maintain composure, and respond strategically rather than emotionally. Recognizing a woman who openly flirts with others is critical for maintaining authority, energy, and clarity in modern dating. Observing patterns, reading subtle behavioral cues, and responding deliberately ensures that men invest only in women who demonstrate respect, loyalty, and alignment with shared values. 7. She complains about every partner. She's had men. The 7th red flag is a woman who constantly complains about every past partner. While it's normal to reflect on past experiences, women who repeatedly portray former partners negatively are often projecting blame, avoiding accountability, and testing how much you tolerate emotional instability. Ignoring this pattern can signal tolerance for manipulation and set a precedent for being blamed unfairly in your relationship. This behavior usually appears in conversation. She may frequently reference exes with exaggerated negativity, portraying them as controlling, unfaithful, or emotionally abusive. Statements like, "He never appreciated me," or "I don't know why men are always like that," are classic examples. Men who dismiss these complaints as harmless storytelling often overlook patterns of externalizing blame and emotional manipulation. Pattern recognition is key. Occasional reflections on past mistakes are normal, but consistent negativity and blaming across multiple relationships signal a mindset that may repeat with you. Women unconsciously test whether a man will absorb their negativity, sympathize excessively, or maintain composure and authority. Men who notice patterns while staying grounded preserve emotional energy and maintain clarity about alignment. Tone, energy, and micro-behaviors also reveal intent. Complaints delivered with dramatic pauses, exaggerated expressions, or a sense of righteous indignation often indicate projection rather than factual recounting. Hesitation or defensiveness when asked about details may further reveal inconsistency or manipulation. Observing these cues without reacting emotionally demonstrates strength and discernment. Practical application. Track how she talks about past partners. Notice if the pattern is consistent, whether she exaggerates details, and if she frames herself as blameless in every situation. Avoid engaging in debates or overanalyzing her stories. Your authority is preserved by calm observation, not emotional reaction. Consistent negativity about past partners is a warning that she may project blame onto you in similar situations. Finally, understanding this red flag protects your energy and ensures clarity in evaluating emotional alignment. Men who recognize repeated complaints about past partners early avoid taking on unnecessary drama or being manipulated into guilt-driven responses. Women instinctively respond to men who maintain composure, detect patterns, and enforce emotional boundaries without being hijacked. Recognizing a woman who constantly complains about her exes is critical for men seeking stability, respect, and clarity. Observing behavioral patterns, reading energy, and responding deliberately ensures that men invest only in women who demonstrate accountability, emotional maturity, and alignment with shared values. 8. She tests you. Constantly men. The 8th red flag is a woman who tests you constantly. While occasional testing can be a natural way to assess compatibility, women who make it a recurring pattern are often manipulating perception, gauging control, or pushing boundaries. Constant testing signals misalignment, emotional immaturity, and potential manipulation. Ignoring this behavior can erode authority, drain energy, and make you reactive rather than composed. This red flag appears in multiple ways. She may challenge your decisions unnecessarily, question your motives, or deliberately create scenarios to provoke a reaction. Statements like, "Are you really going to do that?" or "I wonder if you really care about me," are common examples. Men who overreact or justify themselves repeatedly are feeding into her tests, giving away energy, and losing authority. Pattern recognition is essential. One test in isolation may be harmless, but repeated behavior across conversations or interactions indicates a deeper strategy of manipulation or boundary testing. Women subconsciously monitor whether a man notices patterns, stays composed, and enforces limits. This is a measure of strength and alignment. Men who detect these cues and maintain composure preserve emotional clarity and authority. Tone, body language, and micro-behaviors reveal much about her intent. Women who test frequently may smirk, pause for a reaction, or display subtle tension when posing challenging statements. Hesitation, sarcasm, or overemphasis often accompanies tests. Observing these cues without reacting emotionally allows men to remain grounded, read energy accurately, and make deliberate choices about investment. Practical application. Notice when she challenges your decisions, questions your intentions unnecessarily, or creates situations designed to provoke a reaction. Avoid over-explaining or defending yourself emotionally. Your authority is preserved by calm observation and consistent boundary enforcement. Track patterns across interactions. Repeated testing is a clear signal to evaluate alignment. Finally, understanding constant testing as a red flag protects your energy and preserves clarity. Men who recognize manipulative patterns early avoid being drawn into power struggles or emotional games. Women naturally respect men who maintain composure, detect manipulation, and respond deliberately rather than reactively. Recognizing a woman who constantly tests you is crucial for maintaining authority, energy, and clarity in modern dating. Observing behavior, identifying patterns, and responding strategically ensures that men invest only in women who demonstrate honesty, respect, and emotional alignment. 9. She refuses accountability. Men, the 9th red flag is a woman who refuses accountability. Accountability is a cornerstone of maturity, trust, and alignment. Women who consistently deflect blame, make excuses, or fail to take responsibility for their actions signal emotional immaturity, manipulation, and potential conflict. Ignoring this behavior often leads to repeated frustration, unresolved issues, and loss of authority in the relationship. This behavior appears in conversation and actions. She may shift blame onto others, downplay her mistakes, or deny responsibility entirely. Statements like, "It's not my fault, you don't understand," or "I had no choice," are common examples. Men who accept these deflections without noticing patterns risk being drawn into guilt-driven behavior or manipulation, reducing their authority and energy. Pattern recognition is critical. One mistake followed by acknowledgement can be normal, but repeated refusal to accept responsibility signals a fundamental misalignment. Women subconsciously test whether a man notices patterns, enforces boundaries, and maintains composure. This determines how much they can manipulate perception. Men who observe without reacting emotionally maintain authority and clarity. Tone, energy, and micro-behaviors provide further insight. A woman avoiding accountability may speak defensively, display exaggerated emotion, or use guilt-tripping tactics. Hesitation, over-explaining, or shifting the focus to you or others are subtle cues that reveal avoidance of responsibility. Men who notice these signals while remaining composed prevent manipulation and preserve emotional clarity. Practical application. Observe whether she acknowledges mistakes or consistently deflects blame. Track repeated behaviors and evaluate whether she demonstrates accountability over time. Avoid arguing aggressively. Emotional overreaction often reinforces manipulation. Calm observation, deliberate boundary enforcement, and noting patterns signal authority and discernment. Finally, understanding refusal to take accountability as a red flag protects your energy and ensures clarity in evaluating alignment. Men who recognize repeated deflection early avoid unnecessary emotional conflict, manipulation, and wasted investment. Women instinctively respect men who maintain composure, detect avoidance, and enforce boundaries without being emotionally hijacked. Recognizing a woman who refuses accountability is essential for maintaining authority, energy, and clarity in relationships. Observing behavioral patterns, reading micro-behaviors, and responding strategically ensures that men invest only in women who demonstrate integrity, emotional maturity, and alignment with shared values. 10. She disrespects your time, men. The 10th and final red flag is a woman who disrespects your time. Time is your most valuable resource. Once it's gone, you cannot reclaim it. Women who consistently show up late, cancel plans repeatedly, ignore commitments, or prioritize other activities over you demonstrate lack of respect, disregard for boundaries, and misalignment in priorities. Ignoring this behavior leads to wasted energy, frustration, and erosion of your authority in the relationship. This red flag often appears subtly at first. She may say, "I'm running a little late," frequently, cancel plans last minute, or fail to communicate her schedule clearly. Over time, these small patterns reveal a lack of respect for your availability and investment. Men who tolerate this repeatedly signal that their time and energy are negotiable, which women unconsciously notice and may exploit. Pattern recognition is critical. Occasional delays or scheduling conflicts are normal, but consistent disregard for your time demonstrates misalignment. Women use these behaviors to test patience, measure tolerance, and assess whether you prioritize their convenience over your own values. Men who recognize patterns while remaining composed protect their energy and maintain authority. Tone, body language, and micro-behaviors provide additional insight. Women who habitually disrespect time may display nonchalance, avoid accountability, or make excuses with minimal effort. Hesitation, casual dismissiveness, or defensiveness when questioned about reliability are subtle cues that indicate a lack of alignment and respect. Men who observe without reacting emotionally preserve composure and clarity. Practical application. Track how often she respects commitments and whether repeated cancellations or delays are accompanied by accountability. Set clear expectations for time management and notice how she responds. Avoid overreacting emotionally or bending your schedule repeatedly to accommodate her. Authority is maintained by enforcing standards calmly and consistently. Finally, understanding disrespect for your time as a red flag protects emotional energy and ensures clarity in evaluating compatibility. Men who notice repeated disregard early avoid frustration, wasted effort, and compromised authority. Women instinctively respect men who enforce boundaries, value their time, and respond deliberately rather than reactively. Recognizing a woman who consistently disrespects your time is essential for maintaining authority, energy, and clarity in modern dating. Observing patterns, reading energy, and responding strategically ensures that men invest only in women who demonstrate respect, alignment, and integrity, the foundation for a healthy, balanced, and mutually rewarding relationship. Men, now you know the 10 red flags that signal a woman may not be aligned, trustworthy, or respectful. She constantly plays the victim. She constantly seeks attention. She has a history of drama. She disrespects your boundaries. She lies frequently. She flirts with other men openly. She complains about every partner she's had. She tests you constantly. She refuses accountability. She disrespects your time. These behaviors are not just minor annoyances. They are patterns that reveal misalignment, manipulation, or lack of integrity. Ignoring them puts your emotional energy, authority, and long-term happiness at risk. Women unconsciously test men through these behaviors to see how much control they can exert over attention, perception, and emotional response. The key to protecting yourself is observation, pattern recognition, and maintaining composure. Words alone rarely reveal true intentions. Tone, micro-behaviors, consistency, and energy provide the real insight. Men who notice patterns without overreacting, preserve authority, avoid manipulation, and filter for women who are honest, aligned, and emotionally mature. Practical application. Track repeated behaviors over time, enforce boundaries calmly, and evaluate whether she respects your energy, time, and values. Avoid arguing unnecessarily or bending to manipulation. Composure and deliberate observation give you the clarity to make informed decisions about investment and commitment. Ultimately, these 10 red flags are warning signs, not guarantees. They allow you to protect yourself, preserve authority, and engage only with women who demonstrate alignment, respect, and integrity. Men who master this approach naturally attract women who value honesty, emotional maturity, and partnership, while filtering out misalignment and drama before it drains energy. Recognizing these red flags early ensures that your time, energy, and emotional investment are preserved for relationships that are truly worth it. Relationships built on respect, accountability, and alignment with your values. This knowledge is your tool for discernment, authority, and clarity in the modern dating world.